Yes.
Yes, yes, I'm fine.
Okay, great. Okay,
Thanks.
because it's
Thank
just
you.
about the rights. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And thank you, Anna, a lot that you were so adaptable regarding all the rules of the festivals and everything.
So I suppose that we can start now. So Milica, please, you can start streaming and screaming. Okay, so I will introduce the audience to our program. Give me a sign, Milica, when we are online.
You can go, I suppose, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our first session of the mini conference organized by the University of Arts in Belgrade and its UNESCO Chair for Cultural Management and Cultural Policy, and by PhD in One Night platform. This small conference today and on the 11th of May has the title The Future of Artistic Education, Art and an Inclusive University. And with these two sessions and with various participants and various topics, we want to tackle the questions of the future of art education, to open the problems that this art education, as well as other fields of higher education, are facing in today's world, and to debate how art can address these questions and what art can offer to all of us when dealing with such problems. This conference is also a kind of homage and support to the Rojava University, the self-organized revolutionary university that faces a lot of troubles, working in very difficult conditions, but still trying to support the young people and the academic community in this part of the world. So we are really happy to have the representatives of the university today with us, and a lot of other colleagues, artists and academics from different art schools around Europe that will be with us today. I want also to thank at the very beginning Ivana Momčilović and PhD One Night for initiating this meeting and these discussions. And now I will give the floor to our acting rector of the University of Arts in Belgrade, Professor Mirjana Nikolić, who will say a few words of welcoming. You have just to unmute me.
Sorry, I said I'm acting director, but I'm not actors. Dear colleague, it's my great pleasure on behalf of the University of Arts in Belgrade and UNESCO Department of Culture Policy and Culture Management open this first of two events in conference, The Future of Art Education, Art and Inclusive University. The conference is organized with Erasmus Plus project sharing subaltern knowledge through international culture collaboration, shaking, and in cooperation with the Collective for Aesthetic Education of all PhD in One Night. In modern condition, education in general and art education is particular facing numerous challenges. Some of them come from external factors, social, political, economic, technological, but also from themselves that do not change enough and do not follow current trends. Facing the trends of marginalization, but also the commercialization of education, artistic creation and critical thinking raises questions about the importance of art for society, the evaluation of experiment as a basis for learning, and the need for decolonization of educational institutions and educational practices. The potential of art education are great. At the same time, we can view arts as a subject of research and experiment, the result of which is the articulation of creativity and the beginning of artistic creation. On the other hand, art can be a method of learning with the educational system, but also more broadly as an aid in solving social issues such as socialization or inclusion. Therefore, at this conference, we gather different actors who each, from the perspective of working in a specific area, should encourage us to think about new strategies and enable to open the universities to new knowledge and new actors of knowledge production. Artists, pedagogues from the faculties, activists, and philosophers will be with us today and in the second session of this conference. Before I give the floor to our dear colleague Ivana Momčilović from Collective for Aesthetic Education of All, PhD in one night, from Belgium and Finland, I would like to thank you for presenting the experience of the Alternative University in Rojava through today's event and the event of 11 May. Also, our great thanks to other participants in this event, professor and artist Anne Hjort Gute, Norway, Adam Brown from London Sound Bank University, Milena Dragicevic-Češić, Professor Emerita, former President of the University of Arts, Professor Sirena Ristic, Bojana Matic, and Goran Tomka, activist and curator Juha Huskonen, and also Marijana Cvetković. Thank you, and I give the floor to my colleague Ivana. Ivana, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all those words. I just have to say before introducing Gulistan Sido from Rojava to all of us who is present with us from Rojava University today that we have a little problem, it seems, that the streaming didn't start and that we will have just to resolve it a bit before continuing with the conference. I think, Mirena, is it okay? Is it? How is it going now? Milice, sorry, Milice.
The YouTube link is working and we are online on YouTube.
Okay, so,
Okay.
but the Facebook event is not.
Yes, Facebook event is somehow blocked. I'm now trying to unblock it. Just a
Okay, so I mean, just tell us if we have to continue or not, how to deal, or we make a pause of few
just
minutes.
maybe small pause, just to.
Okay, then maybe just a small pause, just to introduce them, because we are still live in YouTube. Just to, my apologies, my computer is blocked, so I made very fresh image, so a few minutes ago, so this is me. I would like to present Gulistan Sido, Professor of Kurdish Literature, who is with us today from Rojava. She is there with the hand, and we will have we are very honored that we will read today two presentations directly from Rojava made for our Guerrilla University. One is Gulistan's presentation of Rojava University, and the other one is a statement of three students that you will have a honor I mean, we will have honor to share it because it's very touching and it's really describing the actual situation of students in Rojava today and of population. So I don't know if now if everything is working, so I could just act like hello everyone. Yeah. So I would like to thank everyone, and to be able to be very expeditive, because we have many important subjects, I will, as always, read my text so I could be very quick. So, hello everyone, I'm Ivana Momčilović. I will speak as a participant in self-organized international platform for aesthetic education of all, named PhD in One Night some 12 years ago. I would like to thank the University of Arts Belgrade and the Department of UNESCO and our dear host of today, Milena Dragičević-Šešić and Mariana, who organized this meeting. We will be able to present our collective and our experimentation and research in education and our questioning the hypothesis of displacement within today's capitalist education more on 11th of May. But today we are extremely honored to present the participants of one of our projects, also self-organized online guerrilla university that we launched in October in collaboration with Rojava University, present today with us, and which inauguration was attended by the intervention from Jacques Rancière, and our associates and guests. Some of them you will hear today. Anne Hjorgutu, professor of Oslo Art Academy, an artist, great artist whose fragments of her precious film Manifesto recently showed in Rotterdam Film Festival about the turbo privatization of the University of Scandinavia and the reflection on resistance, you will see today. So we will show fragments. Then Adam Brown, professor of photography at South Bank University London, who coordinates teaching and learning network in University of South Bank University London, and who invited our collective and our film poems from which we learned on their conference in last May. And Juha Huskonen, director of Helsinki International Program, who supported the research of our collective in Finland and to whom we are extremely grateful. So we are very pleased to share with you excerpts from the film by Anne Hjorgutu, which was presented at Guerrilla University for Rojava University students in November. And we have honor in the name of the PhD in One Night team to present representatives of the self-organizing university and the university itself. In the last part, you will have opportunity to speak with all our guests, including Gulistan Sido present here, and maybe some other collaborators and students from the Democratic Federation of Northern Syria, Rojava. So Rojava is a large temporary free territory where life takes place in a break from war and persecutions, as in any free territory, and where strength and inspiration for further struggles is collected, as in every free temporary territory. It is for these reasons, working on the concept of impossible encounters and radical displacements, that our group wanted to learn more about Rojava University, which is based on emancipatory premises: research in education, women's studies, radical ecology, multi-ethnicity. Rojava's revolutionary education system was built on the basis of a domestic curriculum that promotes gender equality, ecology, and social and cultural inclusion, and the creation of a new education system was fundamental to spreading support for the core of revolutionary ideology, the democratic nation. In a word, the pencil fight, or how someone called the war with the pencils, proposed a system based on the three pillars of a democratic nation: democracy, ecology, and feminism. Since its beginnings in the secret teaching of the Kurdish language before the revolution, the education system has developed towards building a completely new curriculum, and now has spread scholar system in many primary high schools and universities of Rojava. The new education system really aims to encourage respect between different groups in Syria. Classes are held in several languages. I'm reading all that because we were somehow asked to present what we learned. We learned so many precious things, that there are three languages in this university: Kurdish, Arabic, and Syrian. That the pupils learn about their own cultures and histories as well as others, thus affirming their own repressed identity and building tolerance towards others. These values are also embodied in class discussions through topics dealing with how different nations could live together. Today, unrecognized internationally as university with more than 1,500 students, University of Rojava searches its paths toward recognition. So any one of us could somehow support this, as we call it, flower in the desert, this educational system, by making any kind of protocol, institutional protocol. So you will hear from their statement, they really need our support. For the end of this little short presentation, I will just say that I read a very, very micro text that we translated our encounters with Rojava University in one little poetical text. Guerrilla University is a temporary free territory, a jungle in the desert full of plants of most incredible shape and pomegranates from which the world originated according to Kurdish mythology. Guerrilla University is a field of flowers in the desert and this imperfect garden that we are planting despite the decree of interdiction on plantation. Guerrilla University is the sound of the inaudible. Guerrilla University is the magic of the obvious, which reveals the treasures from the ordinary, just like Jean Panlevé's camera revealed to us the wonders of underground and hidden details in the common world. In temporary free territories, we learn from the present moment. Guerrilla University is a learning from the present. Guerrilla University is connecting by simple available means. It is putting a postage stamp on letters to the unknowns at the time of fast communication. Guerrilla University is sending a postcard from free temporary territory without exact address. Guerrilla University is looking at stars without a telescope. Guerrilla University, in collaboration with Rojava University, is a common learning of freedom. So this is from the little text, Guerrilla University by PhD in one night in collaboration with Rojava University. Now you are watching the images from the great action of plantation that Rojava University is putting in act every day toward the goal of 4 million trees. But about this action, you will hear more on the 11th of May. So thank you, everyone. I would just like to now invite Costa to read Gulistan's texts about Rojava University.
Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me. Does everyone hear me clearly and well?
Yeah, we don't see you. Could we see you? No?
Well, yeah, you can see me, but the camera is
Okay.
not really working.
Okay.
And also the connection is not very stable, so I'd rather
Okay.
you listen to me,
Yeah.
I mean, that you can hear me well. And all right, so due to some restriction, we will not go fully through the whole administration of the university. However, you can always contact us or Gulistan if you're interested in that. So the text goes as is. Towards the construction of an alternative and democratic university, the University of Rojava as an example. In other parts of Syria, in the wave of what has been called the Arab Spring, the popular uprising that began in 2011 has derailed, materialized, and turned into chaos and a sectarian war, as it still is today, leading to the destruction of the country's main infrastructure. We wanted to Bassist the regime. We wanted the Bassist regime to fall, but unfortunately, the whole country fell into a hellish crisis. But a completely different story began in northern Syria, more especially in the Kurdish region. The Rojava Revolution began on July 19, 2012 in Kobane. Shortly after, in 2014, there was the declaration of the democratic self-administration in Rojava. This administration is structured into 3 cantons which function as autonomous government. Sorry for the pronunciation. So Jezireh, Koban, and Afrin. All the religious and ethnic components of the region, Arabs, Assyrian, Yazidis, Alawites, and Kurds, participate in this federation. Each of these cantons take into account its local specificities. For example, Afrin is a region mainly populated by Kurds, but this is not the case with Jezireh, which is rather populated by Arabs and Assyrians. Rojava is therefore home to several languages, cultural, religions, and beliefs. However, with the chaos which crossed all of Syria and the materialization of certain popular movement, which could be degenerates at any time, it was urgent for us to find a way to live together in order to avoid conflicts and resentment between communities. So this is why in 2014, we wrote with all the components what we call the social contract. We haven't excluded any of the components. All were there to express themselves and have a place in this contract. We then managed the region together around the principle of brotherhood between peoples. Because basically we had two options. Either we choose to live together and accept each other, or we waged war. We therefore made the choice of peace, and we saved our regions from these sectarian conflicts. In a Syria that looks like a multi-ethnic and multicultural flower garden with all the richness of history, we cannot therefore live with a single culture. With us, there is an Arabic proverb which says, "Learn a language and you will avoid a war." In Rojava, it is therefore very important to protect and enforce all the peculiarities in order to bring the different cultures to life among themselves. Going towards others, therefore, also means accepting to listen to them. If these intercultural relations are important for us, they are not for all that obvious because mentalities change with the difficulty in the context of what the experimentation of democratic confederalism and the structuring of new institutions in the field of education, health, and justice. The University of Rojava in Kamishlo was founded in 2016. This is the second experience in higher education, as there was a first university founded in Afrin in 2015. The establishment of the university took place in parallel with the political development of the region. The University of Rojava is in its fourth year, and we have over 1,500 students. So it's a short experience, but we are really convinced of our responsibility to the generations to come because we have plans to found an alternative university. So the university aims to meet the needs of the region in human resources and in scientific and academic skills in an ever-changing region. The University of Rojava adopts a new educational system as an alternative to the classical education system adopted in Syrian universities based on the principle, they're based on the principle of democratic nation, the liberation of women, the ecological community, the building of fraternity relations and friendship between the different components of Syrian society, and the protection of cultural and linguistic diversity. In a perspective of change in the educational system, open to critical pedagogies and the philosophy of education, the University of Rojava also aims to forge relations and friendship and cooperation between the students and the teacher. Consequently, it rejects hierarchical links and works to develop the scientific level and creativity among students and build a free and democratic personality that allows them to properly put their knowledge and skills at the service of society. The University of Rojava represents an opportunity for students who still suffer from the condition of war that Syria has been facing for 9 years now. Those who have abandoned their university's studies because of the political and security condition imposed on the ground can continue their studies. We are also looking to improve our education system by contacting other universities to find out how they work, but we do not want to separate ourselves from our local culture, which is very important to us. So briefly, I will go over the administrative structure of the University of Rojava. So it has a similar general administration system. The university adopts with the co-presidency system. So it's one woman and one man together. The percentage of women in university administration is at least 40%. Decisions relating to university and students' affairs are taken collectively at the regular weekly and monthly meeting by a general council, which includes members of the administration committee of all faculties and representative of the students and the representative of women. So the University Council is the main body for decision making. It includes components of the university and manages the university democratically. The administrative community of the faculty consists of a co-presidency of the faculty, one man and one woman, and heads of department and heads of student affairs. The Independent Council for Women is made up of female executives who work within the university: directors, teachers, civil servants, head of departments, students, and researchers. And they meet once a month to discuss responsibilities and roles of female executives in the administration and set up special programs to develop the academic level of women. The Student Council is made up of student representatives. They organize themselves to play an important role and participate in decision making. There are several other committees among which the Ecological Committee, Cultural and Sport Activities Committee, etc. The University of Rojava consists of the following faculties, institutes, and centers. So there is the Faculty of Petroleum Engineering and Petrochemistry. There is the Faculty of Agriculture. There is the Faculty of Educational Sciences. There is, which includes the Department of Physics, Chemistry, Biology, Math, History, Geography, class teacher. There is the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Architecture, of Language and Social Sciences, Higher Institute of Mechanotronics, Institute of Administration and Funding, Faculty of Medicine, Higher Institute of the Press, and the Religious Studies faculty. So we try to cross border as an educational institution to open doors and find new paths. We want to forge relationship with universities that share our values, values of emancipation. This fundamental value that we carry in our project, with which we will knock on the doors of other universities in the world. So we want our university to be a revolutionary university, to tell the truth, that is not something obvious, because it is very difficult to change the mentalities that result from 40 years of education instilled by the Ba'ath party. It requires a constant struggle, sometimes against ourselves. So there is a lot to talk about trying to do better, especially as teachers. We think a lot about the role of teachers or the university as an institution. For example, is our role only to teach and graduate students? We are constantly asking ourselves how to change the model in which we grew up. At the political level, we are trying to think about how our university can manage itself. We want the paradigm of a revolution to inhibit our institutions, especially in higher education. Right now, we are building ourselves, even though we make mistakes and have a lot of difficulties, but we are going on. We resist, we seek, we struggle. In particular, we try to bring in teachers from outside. Our university is a project that is still under construction, but we believe in it. We believe that we can build another education system and that it can serve as a model for all of Syria and the rest of the region. Lately, the university has launched online education in order to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. This has been quite new to us, especially since we're having a lot of technical issues, but we are still trying to adapt. Our concern is therefore to try to train executives who can serve the collective. So it is not about having a diploma and working for oneself without being interested in society and its development. Of course, it will be very difficult to instill this mentality in the students. We want to shape free and creative personalities, trying to transmit ethical values to them and motivate them to serve society. In 4 years, therefore, we have proven that Kurdish can be a language for teaching, knowledge, and science, and a language of instruction. In 4 years, we have tried to give the best of us and cultivate and give water to our garden together. Thank you for your patience. Gulistan Sido.
Thank you very much, Costa, reading, and thank you, Gulistan, for these texts that you were presented on Kurdish and French on the inauguration of Guerrilla University on the 20th of October. From this, I will just quickly read what we received today. A letter from 3 students from Rojava University describing the conditions of their life and education today, before passing to Anne's film. So, to all attendants in the conference, to be a student at the in a war state, it is difficult and painful. People who are in a complicated situation, their life is affected in general and they have to go with the flow. We used to live as any human being before Turks attacking our regions Afrin, Starekani, and Giresipu. Since then, we have been passing through hard times. As a result, our personalities are affected too. We used to have our own schools and universities, but all was destroyed by the Turkish fascist regime, and we lost our right in study and fled from home. We were lucky enough to have Rojava University to join and to be enrolled again. We are sharing with you stories of 3 students out of 1,000 ones who were forced to leave their life and city. First student, my name is Ali Ahmad Hassan from Giresipu city. I'm 23 years old. I'm a student in Rojava University now in the agriculture department. We were home when Turkish attacks on Giresipu and Sarikani began. And as a lot of young people, I joined military to fight for our city until the last minute before it was occupied by the Turkish regime. Then I flee with my family to Al-Raqqa region. We struggled a lot until we were settled. After me joining Rojava University, I did feel as the same person I have been. To be a migrant feels bad, and to see your city being destroyed in the front of your eyes is 10 times more difficult with you being unable to do a thing. University of Rojava, in addition to enrolling us to its department, is providing us an appropriate dormitory. But we will not live in peace until we are back home. Second student, my name is Nasir Muhammad Nasiro from Afrin City. I'm 24 years old. Before Afrin invitation, I was studying in Afrin University, economic department. Then I joined the military to fight against the Turkish army in order to protect my city. After 58 days of resistance, I traveled with my family to Shaba city, in which it was so difficult to live. Then I decided to continue my studies, so I joined Rojava University Kurdish Literature Department. We have been through difficulties until we reached our third year with all support being provided for students. Still, we need more in order to finish our studies, especially during COVID pandemic that affected our study and lives a lot. Third student, my name is Ahmad Salah Al-Din Othman from Sarikani City. I'm 31 years old. I graduated from Rojava University Agriculture Department. I am an MA student in Rojava University specializing in biotechnology. My city has been attacked several times. The first time was in 2012. As a result, one of my brothers joined military, another joined the media, and I flee with my family and I stayed in several areas. Until the battles finished, we came back to our city. Back then, I was studying at Al Furat University, but I could not finish my studies. Later, it was announced that a university ruled by Autonomous Administration, NS, will be open. So I registered and was one of the first ones who studied there. I was in my last year when Turkey attacked my city. So they used different types of weapons against my people. Thousands were martyred and forced to leave their homes. My family was one of them who settled in Kamishal city. Although I graduated and now studying my MA, it is meaningless unless we go back to our city again. At the end, we call human rights, organizations and institutions all around the world, especially the ones who support the students, to support Rojava University students, and try their best to provide us all types of support, morally and financially. And our main request is to help us in gaining the university accreditation. Thanks of all, Rojava University. So this is maybe just to say, this is what we received from Gulistan. She's there. Maybe Gulistan, peut-être tu peux juste faire un signe, Gulistan, comme te voit, juste qu'on te voit. Voilà. Tu sais faire un signe sur qu'on te reconnaît, Gulistan? Gulistan, do you hear me?
Je suis là.
Elle est là. So this is Gulistan. You will be able to ask her questions later and to really develop the conversation for any interesting person. In this moment, it's very difficult to pass to anything else, but we have now to explain why we and how we connected Anne Kjordsgo to film, and what is a little thing in common between this university in the worst state condition and Anne's research and film. So I will say very shortly that this is a free temporary territory, is in the heart of both. Rojava University is a free territory in the free territory. And Anne is researching for me so precious meaning of autonomous zone and free temporary territory inside of the turbo capitalist privatized universities. So I invite now Milica to show the trailer of 1 minute of Anne's film, and then we give a floor to Anne for her research before showing the fragments from the film. So now is the trailer.
Her har vi arbeidsbenken. Avfallssystem og alt vi trenger i et kjøkken egentlig. Hyller, kunst av de som har laget boksen. Vi har jo konstruert alt som på en båt, sånn at ting ikke skal falle når vi flytter det. Så det er jo veldig praktisk. Sånn som tallerkenhyllene her, det sitter fast. Og når man pakker det sammen, så ser det jo bare ut som en gallerivegg. Så man kan ikke finne det i lokalene.
Yes, thank you, Milice. I will ask Anne, what do you think about this enrollment? Is it, do you feel now intervening or how we planned, or maybe showing first fragments and still images, and then how you feel, Anne? And hello, Anne, dear Anne.
Hi, hello. I don't know. I mean, my screen is super jumpy and lagging, and the sound is bad. So I think I can have a little intro to the film first, just to explain it, I think. And you're welcome to see. I think we agreed on the first part of the film, did we, Ivana?
Yes, first part and then still images. We will show still images.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, if any of you would like to see the whole film, you can also receive a link after this seminar, but I cannot really show the whole film openly on YouTube due to copyright things. So yeah, thank you to the University of Arts in Belgrade and to Ivana for inviting me here and for this initiative. And for giving me the opportunity to share this new film with you. As Ivana said, it's a very different story from Rojava, and I feel almost, I mean, I think it's an interesting juxtaposition of two situations, but they're at the same time incredibly different, I have to say. This film is seen from a kind of very Scandinavian or maybe Northern European point of view. It's about a school hidden inside another school, an art department of a major university, which includes both students and staff and faculty, are so frustrated with the many impositions and requirements decreed from above that they have decided to manage themselves. So they act as a subordinated department and appear to follow all the rules, but then secretly they do everything in their own way without asking. So they have a secretly elected principal, they have secret courses disguised with the names of completely different courses in a way. Like they have these courses where they, for example, organize the courses by students, but since this is not allowed, they act as if there are regular teachers who do the courses. They have an alternative study program. They have a kitchen hidden inside a gallery wall. And this last element is necessary because they are no longer allowed to freely cook their own food in the school, but have to eat in a kind of commercial school cafe. Yeah, so I started thinking about this film a long time ago. And at least in our situation in Norway, I think such a dream school is a very natural idea, especially maybe for artists who teach, because you meet all these fantastic students and professionals, and you see that somehow we're all restrained within various systems of power. And then you start thinking about how it could have been and how it might be carried out if you were allowed to somehow decide for yourself how an art education should be. So I have this idea of a shadow of a true or free education that is somehow following me through my teaching. A little bit like artistic practice often seem to be the shadow of real life in a way, the place where our dreams or longing or wildness or radical thinking can come to life. So I have thought about this film as a kind of fable. It takes place in university, but it could also be imagined, I think, to happen anywhere. The situation of this film has become ever more urgent, since I think that we have all experienced tremendous changes in art education throughout the last 20 years, which implies structural changes like the implementation of the Bologna model and the mergings into larger entities, universities. There are the architectural changes, as most art academies, at least in Northern Europe, are on the move into new buildings. And there are as well digital changes like digital learning platforms, Zoom seminars, and digitally based monitoring of student activity. So altogether, this has created a completely new learning environment, I think.
Yes, I would like to maybe to propose you to make just before we see the fragments, maybe the connection between your text who made so big effect in the in this world that nothing could make any effect anymore. But I remember the day when I received in my mailbox your text, the art education, as we will never. What is the precise title? Always I forget.
It is here.
Art education. Yeah.
The end of art education
as we know it. And you describe so precisely, using so precise words, you really describe from the heart of your proper situation on the University of Arts of Oslo, this kind of turbo privatization and also changing the order of education, transforming the students into the customers, etc. So what I wanted to ask you is, you spoke about you used the term for this architecture. You said that this is this new architecture used now in Aalto University in Helsinki, also in Norway. So you said it is a turbo capital. No, maybe not turbo, but you said that this is the totalitarian architecture. Yeah, I remember now. You said that. Something like that. Maybe it is interesting that you just a few words about this connection to the architecture of the educational, now this architecture which is rising everywhere in the world. I mean, first in Scandinavian countries, adapted to be in any time a shopping mall or whatever. I mean, to be rented even.
Yeah, I mean, I think I used the term advertising architecture actually, or reklamarkitektur, which is the kind of original German term for this. But I think in general, it's an architecture that is somehow meant to advertise a certain ideology. And I think for us, this ideology is about innovation and creativity, but not in the sense that an artist think about creativity maybe, but more as a kind of commercial co-opted kind of activity which we somehow think that art students should deal with. And of course it's also a very flexible architecture, because it's always meant to be changed into something else. Since we now started, I mean, artistic education started to rent their spaces instead of owning it. So therefore, you would always have these kind of owners of the buildings who want to keep it somehow clean for other possible users later. So I think we have a completely different attitude to what a kind of educational architecture should look like now.
Yeah. Maybe we pass now to the fragments, because it will be the best. Before maybe say showing now the beginning of your film and then some still images, because the most important, the key of the film is on the end. So we just took some still images. At the end, I just wanted to say that Jane, who is not with us, I don't think she's the collaborator of Rojava University, but maybe she's not now connected. She asked you another connection between Rojava University and your film. She said that this hidden and parallel reality that you are developing in your film is very similar to what Rojava is developing inside of Syrian state. So I found that very, very interesting from the heart of Rojava, this kind of comment. And I would like with that to ask Milica to show now the beginning of your film, and then immediately after she will just show the images from the film before we start the comments of the film. So Milica, your floor is to you.
Sorry. Just a second. Sorry.
That's the beginning of the film.
Så har vi disse steinene. De er helt essensielle.
Ne, to nije to, Milica.
Molim?
Ne, treba da idemo od početka filma, znači početak filma i...
Samo sekundu.
Počinje sa vratima i kamenom. Čovek otvara vrata sa kamenom. I'm sorry, this is just about maybe some confusion. So there is a link with the beginning of the film. This is in the mail that I sent. I mean, everything was sent by WeTransfer. Mariana, you don't have it now because my computer is bugging. You don't have now the...
No, Milica has it ready. I suppose that she will just look for it properly.
Okay.
In the meantime, just to say, I mean, I'm sure you all noticed it, but the event was hacked and attacked. So we were struggling at the beginning with these hackers. We suppose it has to do with the political issue, with the political topic of this conference. So it's one more sign, one more manifestation of the hot topic we are dealing with.
Yeah, this is it. Thank you, Milica, and thank you, Mariana. And this is really powerful.
Det er jo så enkelt. Så vakkert.
På mit første år på akademiet, der blev jeg placeret nede på første etage i et hul. Fra øvre hal kan man gå ned ad en trappe til de studios, der ligger på første etage. Og mit studio lå i hullet ved trappen, så man kunne se mig fra toppen. Altså man kan se ned i mit studio, når man er i øvre hal og andre etagen. Jeg har været meget opmærksom på, at der altid var nogen, der så på mig. Og jeg har ikke følt mig fri. Jeg har ikke følt, at jeg har kunne prøve ting af. Og det mærkede jeg virkelig meget, da jeg tog på en studietur med en af mine professorer på skolen til Bodø, hvor vi havde et grafikkurs. Og jeg fik bare pludselig den her følelse af rent faktisk, at der var plads til, at jeg kunne prøve ting af. Som kunststudent bruger man virkelig, virkelig meget tid på at tænke. Altså størstedelen af al min tid her på skolen. Jeg har jo ikke brugt tiden på at producere nødvendigvis. For mig er det virkelig vigtigt, at jeg får et eller andet rum, hvor jeg er lidt tryg.
Ja, her jo bildet av den gamle bygningen vi var I, som den så ut. Og så noen eksempler på de studentatelierene som var der da. Det så sånn ut.
Ja. Altså, det jo sånn her det skal se ut på en kunstskole, at det faktisk lov å søle og bygge litt. Men hvis du lager en sånn malingsflekk så det der I dag, så blir det da blir det ramaskrik da. Det liksom ikke lov.
Det her det gamle kjøkkenet vårt. Vi hadde sånn felles kjøkken hvor vi kunne lage mat. I tillegg var det kjøkkenkroker I alle etasjer, så det var veldig lett å lage noe mens man arbeidet.
Kan vi vise Jeg kan vise deg det gamle inngangspartiet versus det nye. Den gamle døra var veldig grei, for det kunne vi bare holde åpen, og så fikk vi en ting, og det fungerte helt fint. I motsetning til den her svære greia her, med kort og sånn. Så når vi var her, så hadde vi bare nattkontrakter.
Det sånn at man kan være inne om natta.
Ja, og da hadde vi også bare helt vanlig nøkkel. Vanlig dør, vanlig nøkkel, alt funket greit.
Vi kom jo fra en gammel bygård på 8 etasjer, og så ble vi lovet dette nye bygget og gledet oss masse til det. Tenkte at vi skulle få være med å lage den perfekte kunstskolen, men sånn ble det jo ikke.
Nei, altså, først så fikk vi jo ikke studio engang. Da skulle det være sånn åpent kontorlandskap, og vi fikk en pult å jobbe med. Så da måtte vi slåss ganske hardt for å få til en sånn labyrint av lettvegger, sånn at vi I alle fall fikk en slags liten space å jobbe på da.
Så her alle vinduer boltet igjen, og man må ha nøkkelkort for å komme seg ut og inn av dørene, sånn at hvis du har glemt det, så du fucked. Og dessuten så kan du jo via de kortene overvåke hvor vi beveger oss til enhver tid.
Tror du det gjør det?
Ja, det skulle ikke forundre meg.
Det holder jo at vi vet at det der kan gjøre det.
Dere først bare prate litt sammen.
Now, okay.
Hasta ahora.
We have to say something, or we have to...
Vi skal snakke litt sammen.
Okay.
Så du får liksom lyden eller følelsen av...
Yes, I understand what you are saying. Yeah.
For eksempel, da når vi kom til dette bygget, så ville gårdeier at vi skulle ha en kafé og ikke et felleskjøkken. Det ble til og med forbudt å lage mat inne I skolen på grunn av brannforskrifter. Og det jo da et eksempel på hvordan HMS brukes som styringsverktøy, ikke sant? Men I og med denne kaféen da, så blir jo vi også gjort til kunder, og ikke til handlende subjekter. Og det jo på en måte helt uakseptabelt.
Yes, and food is central in all social interrelations, and it's crucial for the school's environment to have a kitchen where we can meet together, make a cheap meal.
Her også mobilkjøkkenet vårt, hvor vi har stekeplater, et velfungerende kjøleskap, en kran som funker, fordi vi har et slangesystem som vi har satt opp her nede. Her har vi arbeidsbenken. Avfallssystem og alt vi trenger i et kjøkken, egentlig. Hyller, kunst av de som har laget boksen. Vi har jo konstruert alt som på en båt, sånn at ting ikke skal falle når vi flytter det. Så det er jo veldig praktisk. Sånn som tallerkenhyllene her, det sitter fast. Og når man pakker det sammen, så ser det jo bare ut som en gallerivegg. Så man kan ikke finne det i lokalene.
Yes, great. So that was what we agreed to show it until here, and then now just there is a file. This is just 1 minute just to show. I mean, if you have a file ready, then I just took some still images that we could follow the rest of the story for the others to understand as well. So could you show the photos? Yeah.
Sorry, just a second. Sorry.
Sorry, I don't know if you hear me.
Ivana, you can start talking.
Yes,
right?
yes, but you said that you don't hear me. Yeah, I mean, just could you show the photos then? I could.
While she's managing.
She's something is okay. So okay, we just took. So we agreed with Anne to show the beginning, and then now until the end, the key moments are just arriving. So you will see what happened in this surprising story. Yeah, on the first. Okay, so I mean, something is. I don't have, unfortunately, images here. If we don't manage it, I think it is extremely important to show some of those images, but still we could then maybe. Do you hear me? I don't know. I received the earphone. Okay.
We can hear you. It's okay.
So just now, yeah, press the button and this is it. From the first one, yeah. Zero one. No.
Ivana, you just talk, and if Milica succeeds in moving pictures, it will be nice. If not...
Yeah, if not, then, but okay, I really prefer to not say what's happening in the film, so then just to be patient. I mean, it's much better to see the image than I described. I could just say that what I was really extremely surprised discovering this film is that it exactly showed, and I think that Yuka will say something about it later, and Adam just immediately after, about the situation happening right now. So we have today with us also a professor from Aalto University, and this was exactly why I prefer that we see images. Also, it's because it is so nice to know that someone like Anne was thinking what we could do with this empty space. what we could do and how we could intervene in the middle of all this emptiness and all this social distancing space. But okay, if Milica cannot succeed, if we cannot succeed, maybe we could just say that there is a kind of really dramaturgy of the free temporary territory developing in the film in a way that there is this hidden. So now what arrived in the photos is a story about the hidden management. Just for a reminder, Anne had a topic with her students self-management. She told me when I met her. I mean, on first Zoom, I was so surprised. And then there is a kind of management which was elected by students, and the cleaning lady is a dean, and I mean, maybe just now to pass to the last sentence from the film, when Anne asked her, but is it possible then to do something outside? Why you don't make anything outside of the university, some parallel organization? The cleaning lady, Dean, she's saying, but there is no outside. The only relation to the academical, okay, maybe just a Vulgata version, academical world in Norway today is to really, the only relation is a criminal one. So that was a really great start for the open the debate now. If I find the way to show you late now during the debate, I will now try to show some images during the debate. But then I will invite now maybe Anna, if she has anything to say after, and then after that is Adam from London, South Bank University, and Juha from Helsinki, Milena and Goran. So this is the turn of our debate. So Anne, if you would like something to add or say, I will try to find some images.
I can just imagine that it's a bit hard to actually imagine this film now. So maybe we should also try to discuss this on a kind of more general basis, or at least not maybe all the time just refer to this film that a lot of you, I guess, haven't seen yet. Yeah, apart from that, I'd also like to say that even if it looks a bit like it's a documentary, it's actually a complete fiction. So people are, in a way, acting what they are. I mean, there are students acting as students, teachers acting as teachers, etc. But the story is invented. So it's not like this secret academy really exists, even if that would be great, of course, if that was the case.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, this is always the question. I didn't want to say that before because I was, but yeah, this is the maybe nice moment to leave it in suspense and then to discover that there was a kind of fictional, what I call science fiction in the terms of this film. But maybe Adam, he had very nice comment while sharing this film on Guerrilla University about this hidden reality in the film, so, and parallel reality. So Adam, please, welcome. Welcome, Adam from London.
Hello, thank you very much to everybody, and thanks for inviting me to be present at this event, and thank you, Anna, for such a stimulating film, and just want to say hello and solidarity to everybody in Rojava, and very nice to have you on this call. Yes, it's a very provocative and stimulating film. I guess for the last 5 years or so, my writing and research has been around the university's view of itself, having moved around between different institutions and seen the university from the student's perspective, and then the university's own idea of what it is. These things sort of, the university's vision of what it is and what it looks like from the outside is a battleground, really. The university that say in London, the kind of, should we say, the capitalist or neoliberalist university is very much a educational and a marketing institution at the same time. So it does actually present itself visually, and it presents itself through prospectuses and advertising and adverts on the back of buses in order to recruit students, because it operates within a very kind of market-based system. I've been very interested in how the university represents itself visually. Of course, being a professor of photography, that's one of my areas of expertise, but it reveals a lot about organizational structure and also the politics and economics of universities. So with the university looking at itself and presenting itself visually, I really like the way in which this event that we're at now expands the different kinds of gaze that there are on the university, the way in which Anna's film is about the university. It opens with this scene with this young woman talking about being aware that there's always somebody looking at her. So it's all about visuality. She's walking through this space with these atria and these glass ceilings and these immense vistas, but she's aware that she's being observed, and this occurs like a refrain through the film. This is very interesting, I think, because these things are designed to be seen. I think it's interesting to hear earlier on from the representative from Rojava about the university trying to think of different types of organization, and this question of how it looks from the outside doesn't seem to be a factor. I'll be really interested to hear more about that later on, about how the university thinks about itself as a visual thing, if at all, or whether that's something that's a kind of something that comes about from the neoliberal context. In the previous event that I took part in, which I think Ivana was talking about, we heard from Rohan from Rojava, and she was talking about the necessity for Rojava University to establish itself as an institution in order for students to carry on their studies. So it had this kind of great motivation for founding itself on the basis of the disruption of studies and the desire for an institution to emerge which could carry that on, to carry that thread, which strikes me as a kind of interesting and really important founding reason for a university to exist. It takes it back to the purpose of this institution, which is to some extent be an agent in civic society. So all these kind of things, this conversation that we're having here between Rojava's motivations for establishing a university versus this circular discourse between Northern European universities looking at each other and trying to figure out what they're all about, can open up some really interesting questions about what it is we're actually doing when we A, think of an institution, and B, we think of education within the context of that institution. I was interested as well because I looked at the building that Anna chose for her fictional university, and it's Berrigan's Faculty of Art, Design and Music, and it's designed by an architectural practice who very much sell themselves on the basis of being a really kind of open, free and democratic architectural practice. I'm interested to hear more from Anna about the conversations with the architects, because if you go on their website and you look at the things they say about the buildings they produce, the language that they speak very much speaks about liberation, freedom, connection, and all these kind of things, as most universities do themselves nowadays. So this this structure, which opens up many vistas and is all gleaming, and it has to be kept clean at all times. If you read what the architects say about it, it's supposed to encourage free exchange of information and ideas, and it's supposed to be a very kind of open space. But in fact, it turns out to be very bureaucratic and very clean. And this obsession with buildings looking a certain way and the appearance of things, you know, when I saw there's a section in Anna's film, which we just saw actually a snippet of, where they talk about how they're forbidden from making a mess in this building. They can't splash paint on the walls, and that desire to keep things looking good, and this desire to keep things clean and to not show any sign of mess is exactly the kind of visual thinking that leads to things like the Grenfell Tower disaster, which you probably heard of in London, the tower block that caught fire because it was clad with panels that were highly flammable. And, you know, this concrete block has been there since the 60s. It's a piece of social housing. But because it looked the wrong way and it looked poor, it had to be clad in order to make it acceptable or to look acceptable to the outside. The result of this was a huge conflagration and many lives lost. So there's such a, I don't know, it's really difficult to know where to start. And I'm really interested to hear the perspectives from Rojava. But this idea of building, the look of a building and the way it kind of dictates a certain kind of activity and the way it keeps you under constant surveillance. I found that really fascinating. As a parallel, I think, to Anna's university within a university, or this kind of secret organization, there was a fantastic initiative at University of Lincoln in the United Kingdom called Student as Producer, which was by Professor Mike Neary a couple of years ago. And it's kind of archived, it's still on their website. But there was the funding model of the universities in the UK is based on research. So the more research active and the higher research profile you have, the more funding you get. So teaching is sort of lower down the scale and research is up here, which is, you know, what it is. But what Mike Neary and the people at Lincoln did is they reconfigured all the students as researchers. So they called them all researchers, and that way they could attract research funding to their activities. So if the undergraduates were all researchers, then the whole thing became, so this was a great subversive act. And I saw them talk about this up at a conference in Birmingham a few years back, where they justified it using some quite interesting kind of Deleuzean ideas. But it was, these things happen all the time. People are constantly subverting these structures, and there's a dance going on between, you know, the kind of institution and people trying to fit in within it.
Sorry, Adam, but could you maybe link it with the situation at your university? So are the students also organizing themselves because you are coordinating this teaching and learning the network? But do you see that there is a kind of, I mean, I know that this wave of privatization is something that you described a lot in these conversations that we had around this network. But how you feel about the situation of the students in your faculty? I know that there is you told me the problem of the credits, that students are so pauperized today that they sometimes just inscribe to your university just to take this credit. I think in English you say that loan, and after that they never appear. So
sorry, could you say that again? The sound quality is a bit poor. Could you say that last sentence again?
I just wanted to say that how about the pauperization of the students in your university? How you feel about the tensions between the management and the students? And do you feel that there is any kind of initiative of students in your university to organize parallelly, like in Anna's film?
They always do. I mean, the main way in which they do it is to have a parallel social media channel behind the scenes. At the moment, what's going on with my first year, because we've been doing remote learning for a year, is that they have this very lively parallel structure or a series of communications where, you know, I disseminate things to them via Zoom, and then they communicate that with each other behind the scenes, and then they kind of play that back. That happens under normal circumstances, but this year is particularly intense because I've got students all over the world really who are participating, because people have had to go home because of Corona. So we've become this kind of distributed international institution. and in a certain sense, the way in which I can't talk about this year like any other year. They've found a certain group cohesion behind the scenes. You have to. I mean, I'm a strong believer in student-centered learning anyway. So this idea of trying to hand over the baton to them to self-organize is very much part of the way in which we organize the course anyway.
Yes. Yeah, maybe it's a moment to give also to Juha possibility to say about the situation. And thank you, Adam. Now we have to I received the messages that we have to a bit speed up because there are so many people who would like to ask the things. So thank you for this intervention. We switched to Juha from Helsinki, and the very precise moment of self-learning also during this COVID crisis, which is maybe the only positive, I mean, one of the rare positive moments in this global context. But Juha will, of course, say about the Finnish context, about in the continuity of Anne's film. I think that this is great, what you started already on Guerrilla University, maybe just to say some words in connection to Anne's film and the local context of Finland.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
So a few comments about Anne's film. I would maybe want to start from the very beginning of the film. There is this scene where there are these stones, and you can use these stones to keep a door open. That reminded me of something that that we actually did when I was a student at the University of Art and Design in Helsinki. I started studying there like more than 20 years ago. And back then it was this classic art school, and then I had to borrow this projector for a certain project, and then a friend of mine would actually leave a door open and using some item to leave the door open, so I could sneak in and get the projector and then do whatever I needed to do. So basically I've personally seen this sort of transformation in Finland and in Helsinki. I've been a student and teacher in many of the universities here, and when I entered the academia, it was really about this specialization that there were all these different pockets of the school, and you could kind of like find your own little corner where to kind of hide and kind of develop whatever you were doing. And then over the past 10-15 years, there has been this radical transformation. So basically what is in Anne's film, the building that we have here, which resembles this very much, is this Vare building of Aalto University, which was just recently completed, and it's the same ideas of transparency and shared spaces. All of this is there as well. And I think what is quite telling is that when Aalto University was established, it's a big university. It combines University of Technology, University of Art and Design, and the business school. In the beginning, there was not supposed to be a school of art and design and architecture. Now, I mean, luckily now it still exists, but it was supposed to be called the School of Creativity, because it was seen that these terms, art and design and architecture, these are no longer needed in this new school. Like, as these are kind of like these segments that we don't need these anymore. That is just all this one big pool of learning. So basically, I guess what I just wanted to verify or say is that what we see in Anne's film, and there is this great text by Anne, End of Art Education as We Know It, if you Google, you can find that text, which sort of shows that it's really that this sort of transformation is happening all over the Nordic countries. This sort of this ideology shift and paradigm shift in learning. And I guess what I wanted to I guess maybe to mention as a positive thing is that in elementary school, in kind of lower level in the education, there has also been a change, and that I see mostly a positive transformation. So basically the elementary school system in Finland, it's renewed every 10 or 15 years. And there's a lot of interest around the world of why the Finnish system works so well, because we are getting these good PISA results and so on. And then I guess what is not often brought up is the fact that one key factor is that it keeps changing, that it's not the same. Like every 10, 15 years, it's changed, and that needs to happen. And what has been introduced there now is this new system where teaching is more individual. So starting from first grade, and my daughter just started on the first grade when they started with this new system. Mm-hmm. is that basically each kid, they make their own study plan. Mm. And the study plans are not sort of based on ideas that I need to learn mathematics or that I need to learn biology. They are not like specific topics, but they are these more abstract topics. Like I want to learn problem solving, I want to learn social skills, etc. And those are the sort of the goals that they make, and then every year these goals are followed. And this is called like individual learning. But I think what has been one of the key things that I've learned or discovered is that the only way that this kind of individual learning can work is a more collective approach to learning. Because basically in this situation where when every kid in the classroom, when they have their own individual goals, the teacher can no longer be kind of teaching all of them individually. So what they have to do is to sort of devise this system where the whole classroom becomes sort of more autonomous system. So instead of the teacher being always there to help all of them, they need to rely more on one another. So it becomes this more like a shared learning situation. And that also applies to the teachers. Like the teachers also, they need to learn to collaborate.
Yes, the teachers need to learn. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, and this is something that it's I mean it was introduced now. My daughter is on the 5th grade, so it was 5 years ago. So it's still a relatively new system. So there's still this learning process going on with the teachers. But this is at least is like one sort of very interesting experiment that is currently going on. But one thing that is making the public discussion about this confusing is that while this was introduced, in parallel there has been this sort of idea that we need to change the architecture of the spaces. Mm-hmm. So again, what we saw on Anne's, what we saw in Anne's film, it's not, I mean, this kind of open office spaces, I mean, they are being introduced like everywhere, not just in universities, but all over the place. And what we know of, and there's a lot of research that shows that these don't work well for creativity, but still these are being pushed through. So then, yeah, so there has been a lot of these elementary schools that were recently renovated, and then there are these sort of like bigger open spaces with a lot of there can be like 50 kids or 60 kids in the same space, and it just becomes very chaotic and dysfunctional. And then basically, yeah, in terms of this sort of in terms of the public discourse, I think for a lot of people it's difficult to comprehend like what is the what is being renewed, the spaces or the system. And yeah, I think in the system there are good ideas, but in terms of spaces, there's a lot of dysfunctional things have been tried out recently.
I think that this is so important what you start. I mean, this topic, I think that we really have to prolong on the 11th of May, because Tina Salmi will be with us. She was not able to reach. She was a collaborator of PhD 119 in a high school where we made experimental programs. So we will speak really more about also Finnish episode and everything that you pointed up, which is very interesting because there are always this manichaeistic black and white debate. Either it's a perfect magical model of Finnish, then there, on the other side, Finnish educational system, on the other side, the people criticizing it like a new brand. But I think the truth is really somewhere in between, and especially I think that it will be interesting in the next episode of this conference to speak while still our collective find that there are great opportunities in the Finnish system for the experimentation. And experimentation, and especially also like in Anne's film, the idea, Anne, I never told you, but when we worked in the high school in Helsinki, we had really the idea that we were making parallel system in the system, and it was great. I mean, more about it next time. And now I will give a floor to Milena and then Mariana, maybe. Here it's my part is finishing, so maybe now Mariana is feeling we are very late, but still we have some time.
Okay, it was very interesting to hear, in fact, two stories coming from global north, from Scandinavia, and the other coming from the really more than south, which is from Rojava. And now it's our turn from semi-periphery, from somewhere in between, to tell how we feel those changes in art education within very cruel academic capitalism that is conquering all of our universities. I mean, it started in UK, but it's going everywhere, because what are all universities, but specifically severe conditions on impacts on humanities and art university, because of competitivity, because of ranking done according to very suspicious quantitative criteria as the only benchmark and so on. The processes of accreditation, which even art school makes to look to one to another instead of keeping their specificity. First of all, their contextual specificity, because that is so important. And yes, of course, we can tell a lot about future of art education, but at the same time, we don't have to romanticize what art education used to be, because it used to be master classes, very much linked to imitation and so on, leadership, not very free, quite conservative and so on. But that does not mean also that we have totally uncritically to accept everything that is new. Although I totally can agree with Juha that Finland is advancing and showing, and I'm always recommending this fantastic film of Michael Moore, What to Invade Next. And one of these countries to be invaded because of primary education was Finland. For higher education, Michael Moore was suggesting Slovenia. So you see, we are also on this map somehow from this semi-south. What we could see in this film was really a need for students for self-organized, self-contextualized. I mean, Anne told us even last time when I saw the film for the first time that it's a fiction and so on. But for me, this film was total reality. I lived that. We had to move our old building in the center of the city to a brand new, modernistic, brutalistic, super building at New Belgrade. But we lost exactly, and for me, this story about kitchen was really a real story, because yes, now we have a restaurant, student, cheap. That's true. We are not yet in academic capitalism, but there is no possibility to make food. However, this morning we have an urgent meeting because our students, in spite of pandemics and everything, they prepare their performances, and then of course they made the night parties. So the students are very well self-organized, and they can manage without professors, and they can do. But now, because we are with Rojava University, I would like really to ask ourselves, us that are teaching at our schools, one question. To what extent we are ready to go beyond our comfort zones to understand the world beyond art market? Because what we are now pressed to give to students are transversal skills, entrepreneurial skills, employability for job markets. All art schools are under big pressure. ELIA, European League of the Institute for the Arts, regrouping all art schools of Europe, is making such kind of courses as pressure on each artist to become entrepreneur. But in fact, we are lacking understanding of the real life processes. We might do with our students like contextual research, community, neighborhood, go to neighboring prison and so on. But that's more to little bit make easy our conscience that we did something for society, that we are open, that our art school is open and so on. But to understand really what is going on in unexistent Kurdistan, because in all 5 countries where Kurds are living, there is no real state, no one basically care. And I have to tell you a story. Only 2 students in my 40 years of teaching practice have cried on my classes. One was Kurd from Iran, because that was, he said, in first time on the postgraduate program in Bergamo in Italy, heritage management, and I was delivering a course about cultural memory and so on. And he wanted to participate in discussion, and he started to cry. And he said, "You made me for the first time ever in public, inside or outside the country, doesn't matter, to say that I'm Kurd. Here, everyone treats me as Iranian, and I don't know if I have any heritage. And what is Kurdish heritage in Iran? We don't learn about it. We are not supposed to speak about it." And he started crying and stopped speaking. Another case was 10 years, that was very recently during pandemic's online course. Another was a student from Niš on the workshop that everyone have to come with a suggestion of the artistic or museological curatorial project relating to memory. And then she really had excellent idea how to electronic industry of niche had to create kind of museum and exhibition. But that in the middle of her expose, she started crying because in fact, her idea came out of the fact that all her family lost the job because they've been working in electronic industry niche. All her neighborhood is people that are jobless and without any future and so on. And now she's making museum. For whom would museum gain back their pride of being persons and so on? So these two stories I just tell to say that very often in art schools, we are lacking understanding of larger processes globally, not only in our community, but plus in our community. And we are picking up those things that are probably easy to be funded, art for social change and so on, and things are going in this way. So I'm thinking also, what we, and I spoke with Mariana before this, what we as a community of art schools or teachers or students of art schools can do for Rojava University students. And obviously in time of pandemics, we cannot do much, but maybe we can provide books in PDF if we cannot send it by mail. Maybe we can provide some kind of lectures. We can share our contacts in languages that students there can understand, which I assume might be Arabic better than French or English and so on. So, and I will finish with something that I'm recently working on. It's Maya philosophy, which is Bambara Mali native endogenous philosophy that they try now bottom up to implement in their only one art school in the whole state of Mali, because these art schools in the third world are imitating schools from global north, and they are just applying, and they think they are better if they know what's going on what Art Basel or in the Venice Biennial and so on. So in this sense, we would have to try to help endogenous philosophies to be included in art education, in art teaching, but not to also to banalize that in folklorization, which is often the case in Caucasus, in Central Asia, in Southeast Asia, and so on. So really to stimulate self-organization, self-learning, and be as outsiders only catalysts, but not leaders of the process, not those that are going to and to our students to introduce topics like social justice, distributive justice, ethics in cultural relations, ethics. I'm often taking the case of Venice Biennial, because when I was in the group that lobbied for the first Roma pavilion in Venice Biennial, and we succeeded. So up to now, Roma had 2 pavilions only. In 2007 was the first. But the first initiative was rejected exactly with the words, what if now we give right, Venice Biennial is only for nation state, full stop. If you are an artist that cannot represent any nation state, you don't have a chance. And we as artistic community, we are taking this formula as the must. No one is challenging. I never heard anyone, neither in Italy, neither in the world, that is questioning. You have said primary education is successful because it's permanently changing. Here we have artistic exhibition of the world renommee that hasn't changed since the end of 19th century when it was created. And the explicit words were, we cannot allow Roma pavilion because in 2 years Kurdish community might come and ask for their pavilion. That didn't happen, unfortunately, but I really think that every Sami from Finland also might have right to have their pavilion, not only from Finland, but Sami from Sweden, Norway, and Russia, because they're by our frontiers, they are separated, as African tribes are separated also by our frontiers. We, people of the north, and with a little help of us from semi-periphery, are creating the rules that are making many people in the world unhappy and miserable. And I think that art schools have to be more active also in this kind of awareness raising. So I'm really lobbying for this Maya philosophy, it's very simple. It demands social consensus, community consensus for every individual entrepreneurship or idea. The person who have idea, for example, to open up a hotel, he has first to come to the community and to negotiate and to persuade and to discuss and so on. It's not just that municipality gave me permission and I make a hotel and so on. The same is with learning, with approach. Of course, it needs time. For poor girls, that's a very long process of negotiation because I'm not idealizing. It's like Athens democracy. It worked, but for men, not for the woman. Same with the Maya philosophy. So there is a lot of things how we have to change art schools. And I think Goran might continue much better even with his different experiences.
Thank you very much, Milena. I'm looking forward to hearing Goran for the end of this long discussion, and then to leave some time for your comments and questions and yeah, some kind of final discussion at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana, and thank you, Milena, and thank you all. I'm so excited to be part of this. I was so excited to be able to watch Anna's movie and to hear now our dear colleagues from Rojava. So this is really a very joyous day for me. And I think this is really amazing to see precisely the way that I think capitalism works today. So it tries to incorporate those who it can afford to incorporate and to turn into zombies. So all the normals or the ordinary people, and then those that it doesn't want to incorporate or that it cannot afford to incorporate, like women, like Kurds, like so many communities around the world, it tries to annihilate them. So we see here these two amazing halves of this new neoliberal governmentality. And when it comes to the process of zombieing that I mentioned, I think Anne's movie is really brilliant in showing that. And I was so amazed how easily I believed in it. Not because it is often the case that cleaning lady is a rector or that we see this kind of rebellion. To the contrary, but because I think we all feel how stupid and how meaningless universities are slowly becoming, so that I really wanted that to be a reality. And what we saw in that movie, I think amazingly, is this not only space that is meaningless, there is this no place, Auger, of Marc Auger and so on, but it actually really gives its best to create this these zombie-like subjects who are deterritorialized, who can easily fit into any box, into any white cube happening anywhere in the world, who have no relations with their own surroundings, with animals, with plants, with climate, with other people, with histories, with local indigenous philosophies that Milena mentioned. So really this hyper speed capitalism that is actually good only for moving capital around the globe, and those people who need to administer the capital or to make it nice and shiny, which is of course the role of artists today. So it is really, I think, an amazing illustration of the big trap that so many universities today are falling into, and that is really creating this huge airports of a void of any meaning and void of any surprise, void of life, basically. So just a huge spectacle that stupefies you. But what interests me, and I'll try to be really as short as possible, is not only how violence works, and this is violence, but also what enables it to perpetuate itself. So why don't we have a stronger opposition to this huge violence? And what I found amazing in the movie, and also in the case of Rojava, is actually this sociality or commonality of rebellion. So we have a very strong, in the movie, those of you who haven't seen it, of course you have to do it, that, and Anna is amazing to share with us. But this really strong we, they're constantly talking about this we. We are thinking, we are deciding, we are hiding, we are doing that, we are doing this. And I don't think this is this very naive we in which we all unite, like a melting pot we. It's a very political we who also don't agree amongst ourselves, but we that spend time and that share some kind of common space, and that share our troubles and share our struggles and share our air and whatever we still have to share. And then we come to some kind of solution. And this is for me maybe the thing that is to my heart maybe the biggest pain. And I'm working at across 4 or 5 universities across Europe and further than that to the east. And what I see is that actually this we is constantly being eroded. We don't spend time with students. It's all slots, this very industrial, like 90 minutes, 270 minutes, this and that minutes with students. We are in these more and more virtualized spaces, whether it's Zoom or not, it doesn't make much difference because our classrooms are also Zoom-like, our relations are Zoom-like. We are constantly hurrying from one class to the other in this hyper bureaucratized race to earn points and to earn salaries and to earn whatever. So in this huge struggle, we actually don't have time and emotion and attention to actually create this we. And to be honest, I've been teaching 10 years so far, and I honestly, and this brings a lot of sadness to my heart, that I cannot recall any recent a true debate that we had, something that we solved together as team of professors or together with students, some big issue that we had, and we are full of them, that we actually went through and solved the way that they are solved in a democratic process. So everyone is into their own courses, everyone is into their own time schedules and deadlines and this and that. And I think that only these kind of struggles where we are actually trying to think of a different world together in a space that is actually a space where life is happening, can really create this we that can stand in opposition to this huge violence that is happening around us. And to come back to some of you said at the beginning, like, what is education? And now it may be more clear than ever to me that education is about sharing language and knowledge and information and so on, but it is also about creating these sociabilities, creating these commonalities, creating this we that can actually stand against the huge issues that we are seeing. So I'm really longing for this situation that we saw in the movie, where we can be together and really fight whatever we think we should fight. So thank you all for the inspiration, and I'm very much looking forward to the discussion that is coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Goran, and thank you everybody for actually very inspiring provocations and thoughts and ideas. Now it's the moment to actually engage in a discussion for the end of this session. Please use the opportunity to ask questions or give comments or continue certain ideas that have been proposed, and also use the opportunity to have Gulistan with us to ask her questions, or Gulistan, if you want to say something, we can help you with translation.
Yes. I just translated to Gulistan a very touching expose of Milena and her very concrete demand, what we could do concretely, and that was really what we all somehow waited. We are all asking ourselves, but you pronounced it, Milena, and thank you very much. So I made a resume via WhatsApp to Gulistan. So she, I said, do you have any ideas? So she's now aware of what we were speaking a bit, and maybe just making very short resume and then giving the word to Gulistan first. Donc, si tu peux dire ce que j'ai fait le résumé, cher Gulistan. Donc, voilà, Milena a proposé qu'est-ce qu'on peut vraiment faire. Est-ce qu'on peut partager les livres électroniques? Est-ce qu'on peut donner des cours? Qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire? Est-ce qu'on peut se réunir encore? Prolonger et élargir les réseaux? Donc, voilà. C'est à toi, à nous dire.
Merci Ivana. Je parlerai en français. Donc, je suis francophone. Merci beaucoup pour cette initiative tout d'abord. Merci Ivana d'avoir organisé cette rencontre. Je suis très contente de voir tous les amis, tous les collègues. J'ai une grande admiration aussi à cette université de Belgrade, l'université de l'art. Je suis très contente d'entendre qu'il y a une université spécialement pour l'art, qui s'occupe de l'art. Et merci de cette présentation. Merci pour tous les collègues pour ces questions. Vraiment, comment vous pouvez faire pour nous aider? Déjà, cette fenêtre ou cette conférence, c'était l'occasion de nous faire connaître un petit peu. De transmettre aussi qu'est-ce qui se passe ici, la situation actuelle ici. Peut-être tous les collègues savent qu'il y a ici une guerre. Il y a la guerre contre le terrorisme, il y a une guerre contre le Daesh, et il y a toujours des combats, il y a toujours des attentats. Mais en même temps, il y a une autre réalité, c'est qu'il y a un autre aspect de vie qui se construit ici. Il y a un autre système d'éducation qui se construit ici, en commençant par les écoles primaires, en arrivant jusqu'à l'université de Rojava, l'enseignement supérieur. Donc, Ça, c'est le côté lumière. Ça, il y a tout un modèle qui se construit, mais vraiment, je peux dire que construire est beaucoup plus difficile que de détruire. Quand on détruit, c'est plus facile. Mais quand on veut construire quelque chose ou reconstruire une société, reconstruire un système d'éducation, après ces longues années d'assimilation, de discrimination, ces longues années contre surtout les Kurdes, contre les Kurdes, c'est vrai que le kurde a été interdit. On pouvait même plus, on pouvait même pas parler en kurde. C'est ça la réalité. Donc, c'était le parti basse qui rédigeait la société et l'État. Un parti qui dirigeait la société, qui contrôlait toute la société et même l'éducation. Donc, il y avait des lignes rouges qu'il ne faut pas dépasser. Il ne faut pas dépasser. Donc, après toutes ces longues années d'interdiction et de discrimination, voilà, ça fait 10 ans après le commencement de ce qu'on appelle le printemps arabe. Moi, je ne dis pas le printemps arabe, moi, je dis le printemps des peuples. Moi, je dis le printemps des peuples. Là, il y a un espoir ici. Les peuples, la population, toutes les populations ici dans la région appelée Rojava et dans toute le nord et de l'est de la Syrie, on a commencé un petit peu à respirer, à nous trouver nous-mêmes, à se connaître l'un et l'autre. Il y a beaucoup de composants, il y a des Arméniens, il y a des Assyriens, il y a des Arabes, il y a des Kurdes, il y a une diversité culturelle. Donc, protéger cette diversité culturelle par un nouveau système d'éducation, ça c'est le plus important pour nous, c'est de essayer qu'on peut vivre ensemble, qu'on peut tous vivre ensemble et qu'on peut tous être soi-même en même temps.
C'est magnifique. Avant que tu nous répondes, je vais faire juste le résumé parce que j'ai noté tout ce que tu as dit un petit peu. Je vais faire un vite résumé. Tu es d'accord? En anglais?
Okay.
D'accord. So, very briefly, because I was writing down to not forget anything, she really thanks a lot, Gulistan, to all of us gathered. She's very touched, and she said she's very touched that there is something like University of Art, especially dealing with these kind of topics. I think that she will be surprised that that we could find other partners in University of Arts also in the world, and I really give a hope in it. So she said these gatherings, as Guerrilla University was, they became a window to the world, because she said, okay, I would like to answer to Milena, but then first, let's say, this is already something great what is happening. We have a kind of window. We show our reality. We could also understand yours. Then she said that the long years of assimilation, discrimination, racism toward the Kurdish nation are a reality. But as much, the reality is also another parallel reality. So again, a topic from Anna's great fiction. She said we are developing something new because in the conditions where you deconstruct, you have to reconstruct. Of course, destroying is easier than reconstructing. But she said, despite all, we are reconstructing. And we are making something new. So on the 11th of May, you will hear about their incredibly important action of plantation. But Gulistan said, what is happening now in Rojava is, we could call it Arab Spring, but she said, I call it People Spring, because there is a big hope. There is a big hope of living together. as the Rojava University show as example that it is trilingual, but there are so many nations and minorities cohabitating and working. So also in all the other actions, including this Green Tree action, this is acting. This is what is happening now in Rojava. So maybe we said that she will answer on the, she will continue. So I just made this first résumé. Donc j'ai traduit la première partie. Voilà.
Oui, merci Ivana. Alors, comment moi, ce qui est très important pour nous en tant qu'université de Rojava et en tant que responsable, moi je suis responsable des relations internationales, c'est de fonder des ponts, de construire des ponts entre nous, l'université de Rojava, et entre le monde entier, la communauté académique, entre nous et les autres universitaires, entre nous et les autres collègues dans le monde entier. Tout d'abord pour nous faire connaître et ensuite pour développer des échanges, développer ou peut-être collaborer ensemble, échanger des projets. Peut-être à l'avenir, je peux vous envoyer beaucoup plus de suggestions. Comment vous pouvez nous aider?
Très bien.
Comment on peut s'entraider? Comment pour moi, s'il n'y avait pas cet empêchement de la situation sanitaire mondiale, on aurait voulu vous inviter tous à venir à Rojava pour voir la réalité par vos yeux. C'est notre souhait d'accueillir des collègues, d'accueillir des universitaires, d'accueillir des collègues de la communauté académique pour venir au Rojava, pour découvrir la situation. Et peut-être à l'avenir, peut-être à la prochaine séance aussi, on peut vous préparer beaucoup plus de suggestions. Ou préparer un plan peut-être ensemble, comment vous pouvez nous aider, comment on peut collaborer, comment vous pouvez venir au Rojava, comment on peut faire des projets ensemble. Donc ça sera peut-être pour la séance prochaine.
Très bien.
Moi, je trouve que c'est plus logique. C'est plus logique.
Est-ce que je peux ajouter quelque chose, Gulistan?
Oui.
Il serait super de savoir aussi ce que nous pouvons apprendre de vous, de vos expériences, de vos connaissances, de vos savoirs. Je pense que ça doit être aussi dans ce sens-là que vous et votre communauté, votre université, les étudiants et les profs nous apprennent quelque chose. Je pense que ça, c'est très important. Et I will translate what I said. I think that it would be extremely important that we also hear from Gulistan and her colleagues what we here can learn from them, like what they can give us as knowledge, experiences, skills, and stories. So that would be like in two directions, communication. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mil. I will just translate what Gulistan said and specifically about what you said now, Mariana. We will show on the 11th what we learned. We learned incredibly in 3 months with Rojava University. But now what said Gulistan, she said, I propose for the next session to give you more concrete answers. My wish will be that you all come to Rojava to see from the present, from the situation, what we are living, because this is a practice also, and they are really inviting people to come and to see what they are building, what they are creating on this free temporary territory. But she said there is a COVID situation, but still there is a hope that we could realize this dream. And she said that she's very touched about all this proposal. And she said that she thinks that it is in both directions, that we could interhelp each other, and that we could rethink how to think together and how to develop together some possibilities of some parallel possibilities in this world. So this is from Gulistan. Now I know that for the end, I just want to say one little thing, that from China I have a message that the people from art school tried to reach us, but there was really problem of hacking. So still now the people cannot reach the Zoom. So we have to think about, there is a big interest for this debate from all over the world. I see the people from USA and from other parts of the world who get in our Zoom, but still I receive messages from some people that couldn't. So this is the reality also of this meeting. I would like really to ask our gentle host, before now following the last questions, I would like to show some images. We prepared some images from Anne's film, who will be the end, like end of the all end. So this is for the end. So now, if there is anyone of any question, just to recap.
Maybe I can read some comments and questions that we received from Facebook, and then you, of course, think about your questions further on. So Nebojša Milikić, our colleague from Belgrade, says, relating probably to the previous discussion on the future of universities and education, he says, for the beginning, we could and should actively follow and support political organizations and activist groups that resist capitalist hegemony, oppression, exploitation, extraction, and its propagandist and military machinery engaged. That's politically and culturally educative and creative by default. And then there is one more question for Adam Brown and Anne Hjortgutu. It's the question from Bojana Matic, the professor from the University of Arts. She asks, how can we think decolonization of the West and North schools from the standpoint of cultural margin? Are there some examples in Great Britain or in Norway? Are there some infrastructures or contexts that support such endeavors? So Adam and Anne, if you can respond with some examples.
Thank you. Thank you, Bojana, for your question. Yeah, there are examples. I mentioned already the Student as Producer initiative, which doesn't run anymore, but it was at the University of Lincoln, and that was really interesting in the way in which it turned the bureaucracy against itself, made a festival of it. There are also, I think one of the things that's coming out of this meeting for me is that the more that the institutions of the UK and the kind of Western European countries can forge links with institutions outside in the global South or in the Western Balkans or in Rojava, the more that we can listen to those organizations and open up branches where we can learn from them, the better. I think there's a very kind of inward looking and circular argument that happens within UK academia, where we're constantly sort of referencing the same theorists and we're referencing each other. And I think the time is for people maybe in my situation to do more listening than speaking. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so keen to be involved in this initiative, is that I want to hear these solutions, because I think I want to hear what Rojava have to say. I want to hear what's I was fascinated by Milena's speech just now, and I'd love to hear more. And I think opening up the practice of listening, opening up the Western European institutions to hearing those voices, that's decolonization for me is where people like me always do the talking. I need to try to shut up and listen. It's really super important. In the UK, we have initiatives like the Anti-University of London, which was revived recently, but it was an initiative set up by people like Stuart Hall and C.L.R. James back in the 60s, and that the revival of that has been very interesting. But it strikes me that here are people who are within academia who are again struggling with this neoliberal monster, which kind of recuperates everything you try to do as soon as you try to do it. You know, it's really, really hard to struggle against this monster. Everything that you own, everything you do, every action that you take becomes marketized almost as soon as you do it. Self-organization is a key element of the gig economy and contemporary capitalism. Entrepreneurialism is in the air you breathe. It's very hard to escape from it. Which is why I think hearing these other voices is very important. I don't know if that helps.
Thank you, Adam. Anne.
Yes, I mean, it's a huge question. And I think in my experience, most of these initiatives come from below or come from students, actually. So, for example, last year we had in my school, the National Academy of the Arts, a petition signed by around 150 students and faculty about exactly decolonizing that particular institutions. Also with a list of very concrete things that the institution could actually do to look at various sides of a kind of colonial attitude that still exists. And it sparked a huge debate, actually, also in media. And it was really super important. The only problem was that it was in the middle of the pandemic, so it was very hard. And I mean, it's especially now, it's so hard to, you know, maybe this also just shows us how important these kind of socializing spaces are in the institutions, because right now I feel it's actually impossible to respond to many of these demands just because we cannot really talk with each other at all. But what's hopeful is at least that there is this very heightened debate and a heightened kind of awareness around these questions, and it's particularly not coming from professors like me and Adam, but from others. So I also would like to say that I agree with Adam that actually this listening, the state of listening and the facilitation of situations where it's possible to listen and possible to meet. I guess that's why I'm also interested in showing this lack of meeting places in the institutions now, because I think this exact lack of spaces also makes it harder for us to organize. So I think one of the sides of this awareness around architecture also comes from the fact that it's getting harder and harder to meet, and to meet informally, and to meet also without the institutions knowing. So yeah, I think that's at least a very important part of this discussion.
Thank you very much, Anne, for this comment. Is there anything else, Mariana, because we are ready with the images for the end. So I don't know if there is any other question.
Anybody wants to ask or comment?
I would like to ask a short question to Rojava, to Gulistan, whether there is concrete plans for an art department in the university. It would be very interesting to hear more about that.
Donc, Anne, Gulistan, elle a une question. Donc, j'étais déjà écrit dans un mail qu'ils ont un don et qu'ils voudront faire avec l'Air Académie de l'Art d'Oslo, de Norvège, faire un projet, une collaboration. Donc, elle demande en prolongation de ça, est-ce que vous avez une idée, une initiative d'ouvrir un département de l'art dans votre université? Parce qu'il y a plein d'idées, comment s'organiser, comment vous aider en ça. Donc, mais est-ce que vous avez, vous, déjà un plan?
Pour un département de l'art.
L'art, oui, département de l'art.
Oui, pour le moment, on n'a pas un département spécial pour l'art, mais vraiment, on veut, ouvrir un département de l'art, théâtre, musique, qui contient les études théâtrales, les études musicales, mais peut-être l'année prochaine, ou peut-être on n'a pas les moyens, on n'a pas les, comment dire, les spécialistes qui peuvent enseigner, peut-être. On manque des spécialistes également, mais le fait d'ouvrir ou un département d'art, c'est pour nous quelque chose de vital, parce que un enseignement sans l'art n'a pas de vie, n'a pas de vie. Donc l'art, c'est toute la culture, toute la richesse, la vitalité de la société, et c'est très essentiel de s'occuper d'ouvrir cet appartement. Je ne sais pas, peut-être vous avez des suggestions, comment on peut faire?
Oui, on pourra se réunir, on pourra te transmettre. Tu sais qu'au début, on avait parlé de Summer School. Et donc, on a vraiment des propositions très concrètes. Je pense maintenant, avec tous les amis qui se sont rejoints, qu'on pourra très concrètement parler dans ce sens. Donc, je vais faire un résumé en anglais de ce que tu as répondu pour Anne, mais je pense que cette question reste vraiment quelque chose à réaliser. Parce que vous avez uniquement à ce Zoom, vous avez que des spécialistes. Amateurs et spécialistes. Mais donc, il suffit juste de partager le savoir. So, Gulistan just answered that she's really, they don't have, for the moment, possibilities because they need a specialist. But she said she will be very happy to hear any initiative about art, anything turning around art, because we spoke with PhD One Night to start with summer school already, and she said education without art, of course, is really not a real education. I mean, it's really this is a plan for them, but if we could help them to realize that will be great. So, Anne, because of the project that you spoke, Joseph Beuys in Rojava Stone, etc., I think after this meeting today, we could more concretely speak about any initiative that anyone would like to propose. And I missed to say, this is my fault, what Gulistan said in the previous turn. She said any official collaboration is crucial for Rojava University. It could be a protocol of exchanging anything. I mean, kind of protocol, just exchanging one course, one reading group. But the very recently, Fine Arts Academy of Washington signed the collaboration chart. So if anyone have any idea of how to realize it, we have very good news that the high school in Helsinki would like to make this kind of protocol and official collaboration next year. So this is, I mean, even artistic studies, even if Rojava does not have still art studies, it does not matter because we could still sign some kind of official collaboration with them. And for them, this is crucial in this very moment because that makes their visibility. As Chomsky said on this live conference, he said, you have to make and to work on your visibility. They're trying, but they cannot. I mean, they're already in the middle of the war. So we could help them for their visibility, and we could help also them bringing any institutional contact and any official collaboration.
Even knowing the worlds of institutions, I'm very skeptical about it because I remember when I wanted ELIA, which is a network of art schools, to support a school in Turkmenistan, and its rector who was imprisoned for playing Tchaikovsky, so very banal, not political and so on, they didn't want to stand. But my suggestion would be to investigate with European Cultural Foundation that for 3 years is fighting for the freedom of Osman Kavala, that is imprisoned only because of his center. He's Turk, but he's having a center, Anadolu Kultur, in Diyarbakir, helping Kurdish population. I mean, it's really small help. Saturday afternoon, little Kurdish language. Even that was enough for Erdogan to put him in prison. So maybe something through summer school supported by European Cultural Foundation as a first step. And
yes, first step. We need first steps. Absolutely. We have in this omnipresent night, we have some stars. So there is a Pisa University. It always depends on some professor who has the autonomy. So this Fine Arts of Washington, I was very surprised, but they signed a collaboration. And Gulistan, for the next time, she could prepare the list of the institutions who already signed something. I spoke with Anne. She said it might be, you know, it could be also giving the gift, for example, this stone from Oslo who will travel to Rojava, hypothetically, but it's already kind of institutional collaboration. For them, this is, they could present it as a big news. We are collaborating with Fine Arts in Oslo, and we have an official collaboration. So, I mean, Gulistan, je te traduirai tout, j'espère que tu comprends, mais je vais te faire toute la traduction tout à l'heure. On parle de traduction et de tous les pas, comment on peut faire vraiment. Et Milena a une idée magnifique, c'est que, je te dirai après.
Oui, j'ai compris un peu la totalité.
Super. Voilà. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, Milena, what you said, this summer school, maybe with this, with European Cultural Foundation. Then let's try to exchange before 11th of May. Let's make, maybe people could give their mails somewhere, I don't know where, if we are watched or spied, who cares, everyone knows. I mean, I don't know how to organize now mail addresses, how we could communicate. Maybe Mariana, you have any idea how to make a kind of just a resume of this meeting. Maybe we could make it just visible and then invite people before the next session to maybe write something so that we have something already as a concrete proposals, maybe.
Yeah, we can think about and then write for everybody.
Great. So Costa is ready for the photos. Is there anyone else who wants to?
So I would like to suggest that we finish right now, not to exhaust ourselves too much. It's like 2 hours and a half.
Yes. Just maybe Costa put the last photo with the Ames and
yes. Let's see the photos and finish with this. I
show from the before. Sorry, Costa. Sorry, Mariana. That I just from this cleaning lady because it's so great. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Mariana. Sorry. It's so annoying.
Just the last words from me, like to thank everybody for being with us, for being patient, for resisting the attacks at the very beginning, and also for sharing your thoughts and ideas. Hopefully all this will lead us to something more concrete and some more collaborative projects in the future. I also want to invite you to be with us again on the 11th of May when we will continue the discussions with new topics on the floor. Until then, stay well and be safe. I will be looking forward to seeing you and talking to you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gulistan. Thank you, Rojava. Thank you, Anne, Adam, Juha, all the people who gathered. And now Costa will just show, it is like a generic at the end, like a film we are in the film, so just let's make this dream with some images at the end.
So goodbye, everybody.
Thank you very much,
you
everyone, and thank you,
Bye
really,
bye.
and thank you. Bye-bye.
There is, I see Beverly asked a question. There is a link for the whole film, but to be watched in private.
Yes, if Beverly could give us she's running a very interesting network in USA of alternative teaching. So yeah, okay, great, thank you. We have it, and then we will share with you this. Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And the Gulistan especially.